Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing as I ask for a moment of silence for three former employees. The first employee, former Lieutenant, Police Lieutenant, Bureau Commander Earl Bonnell. The second was former Fire Chief and Police Commissioner Victor Lamascolo. And the third, our friend, former 4th Ward Alderwoman Sandy Summers. May they rest in peace. Thank you. Roll.
Ramkissoon.
Here.
Tobin.
Here.
Kleiner.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
John Francois.
Here.
Burr.
Here.
Green.
Here.
Massey is absent. President Rodriguez.
Here.
And we have a quorum.
Approval of minutes.
Tonight we have the minutes from May 1st, 2018, Common Council meeting.
Motion by Alderman Green, seconded by Alderman Tobin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Correspondence.
Nothing this evening.
Okay. For the good of the city, anyone would like to address the council, please step forward. You have 4 minutes.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the Common Council, Mr. Mayor. My name is John Lewis. I'm with Orange County Medicoach, and what I wanted to propose is a couple of changes or additions to the existing taxi ordinance. We'd like to be able to pay for all the medallions at renewal time right up front, so that when they come to for the inspection, the sergeant looks at a sheet and says, okay, it's already been paid, it's passed, here's your new medallion, now it goes back on the street. Currently, what happens is it gets checked out, then sidelined. We have to come over here, make a payment, make another trip back. So we'd like to streamline that with your approval. Second of all is the hack licenses for the drivers, the renewal. Currently, it's done each and every year. We have to call up, make an appointment to be fingerprinted, get that paperwork, then submit another application to the sergeant for approval. We're suggesting that maybe it could be for 4 years or 2 years. We don't care what the fee is, but your fingerprints don't change. So they would be on file still one way or the other, rather than going through each and every year. We think it would streamline everything. Means the cars are on the road more, servicing the public. That's about it.
Okay, I'll add it in committee.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening, good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Legislation.
Hello, Common Council. Hello, Mayor. I'm Alfredo. I'm an organizer for Nobody Believes Me Hudson in Orange County. And tonight I'm just come to thank you again for pushing the municipal ID. Since we have that conversation with the Common Council, my community is feeling part of Middletown. And they feel like they want to get informed more who represents them, who's in which ward they are. So by that saying, I think that is going to make a big change, and it's going to create a bigger relationship between the government and us. Thank you for that.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Good evening, Merritt Winter, Lake Avenue. I'm here to ask questions. I got the agenda tonight, and we're talking about the background checks for tenants. I have 2 rental units. I have some questions about it. Is it grandfathered for current tenants? What is the cost? Who pays? The landlord, or is it a pass-along that I can add to the rent? Who does the background check? The police department? Are tenants disqualified, and if so, what disqualifies them to rent it? When does it go into effect? And frankly, what problem is being addressed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Rodimus Campos, Council of the City of Middletown, Mr. Mayor. Good evening to everybody. The reason I'm here is because, We represent the 40% of the society and the community in the society of Middletown. And this time we are very concerned about the families that are on the street that lost everything because the fire on the 78 and 80 Linden Avenue. And I just want to call the attention that this is very hard for the families when they lose everything. And when I mean everything, is everything, because they lost everything. And now they have to start from scratch. My concern, because I went through this, because in December 2016, December 12th, the 99 Linden property was condemned also because there was a little fire. And myself, I end up evicted from 1 minute to another. And it's very hard to find a new place to live, especially, well, I don't have kids, but I have 2 little dogs, and it was very hard to find a new place for them to allow me to live there. I can just imagine those families with more than 11 members, and the other family with more than 6, trying to find a place so they can live and they can keep their kids going to school, and also how it's gonna be to get all the clothes and all the elemental stuff that people need for every day to live, to work, to go to school. My concern is, as the part of the city of Middletown, as a resident, and residents that we pay taxes, and that we respect the law, and that we represent all the good decisions that the Common Council is always making for improvement, better life for all of us. My concern is if there is any way we can create some kind of program or some assistance for these people, because this is not the first time. We can list several times. I can include myself in those issues. And here we go again with what we said before about the municipal ID. These people cannot have access to their money in the Chase Bank, for example, because the policies, they say if you don't have the ID, which was my passport, if my passport is lost in the fire, I can have $30,000 in the bank and I can have nothing in my pocket and not access to it. It is very hard if you can go through all this process and just to find out, to investigate how hard it is for these families to have access to their money. They don't have no access to their money because there is no IDs. Municipal ID, it will be a really big help, big support for the community. And everybody, not just undocumented residents, it's for everybody that in case of a fire, we lose something, we can come to the DMV and get an ID for the next day. People can be in big need of medicines, and if they don't have an ID, it's very hard for them to try to supply those medicines for the needs of the kids and all. And the other things is we like to, and you know the summer festivals are coming, and we want to participate as the radio that we represent, the Spanish radio in the whole Hudson Valley, Juan 95.7 FM. Thank you very much for the 5 minutes that you let me talk. And also, I'm very proud of the decisions that the Common Council is making, because I was very nervous that the city of Poughkeepsie is going ahead of us because they already approved the municipal ID in also the driver license in the Common Council in the city of Poughkeepsie. So the city of Middletown cannot be stepping back. We gotta be ahead always. So thank you, and I'm very proud of the Common Council about those decisions you're making. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Beverly Japanese, and I'm here because I'm concerned about the resolution that you're about to approve tonight about background checks of tenants. I've been in the business in Middletown for over 30 years, and in reading your resolutions, the things that you're asking for are the things that I've done for over 30 years. You don't last as long as we have in real estate unless you're very thorough in what you do. I do all kinds of checks on people. I don't take the first people that come along. I've worked with many realtors over the years, most of whom I don't work with anymore because I found out that they weren't very honest, and they would dump people just to get a fee. So I'm very concerned about what you want to do and how you want us to do it. I know how I do it, but there's also a concern, tenants have rights, and if you get too intrusive in doing some of these things, and they get turned down because of whatever the restrictions are, the Hudson Valley Legal Services, who represents most of them, will jump all over us. There's no question. They'll come on me, and then they'll come back to you. So I think we have to tread carefully on how we do this. I don't want to step on anybody's rights. And certainly, I want good people in my buildings because I want to survive. I'm very proud of what we've done over the years with our buildings. They're in good shape. They're inspected regularly. There's no problems with anything. Most of the people that we have are long-term. I have people that stay for years. I recently had a couple that passed away. They had been there for so long, I forgot when they moved in. So I don't have an adversarial relationship with tenants. I never have. But everybody has rights. And I also think about our country was founded on the concept of second chances. People can do stuff in their back when they were young, and then they get older and they mature and then they straighten out. So I don't think you can hold something against someone that now is 30 years old that did something when they were a youth or in their early 20s. So I think we have to tread very carefully on how we do this so we don't deny others rights. I'll certainly cooperate in what you want to get done. But all of this, the other part of this is all of this is raising, with all of the delays and all of the fees and all of this, the rents are going up. There's no question. To keep your head above water, you have to raise it. And there's going to come a point where poor people are not going to be able to live in Middletown. There's going to be a big headline in the newspaper that says, they're priced out of Middletown and it's those greedy landlords that did it. That's not true. You have to cover your expenses. So I'm in agreement with you that we want the best of the best, and that's how I've done it over the years, and that's why we survived. But I also think we should be careful in how we do it. As a businessman or a business person in Middletown, I don't want to have an adversarial relationship. I think we should work together because we want things that's best for the city. And I hope that's how we can go forward. But I think we have to be very careful how we do this so we don't infringe on somebody else's rights and end up in court, and that goes on forever. Remember, when you go to court, the only people that win are the lawyers. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Brendan Connor, also a property owner in the city, also a landlord. Echo a lot of the same concerns that were just stated. I wasn't aware of the public hearing, that occurred last month in May, or I would have definitely been here. Would have liked to had an opportunity to ask some questions and also, display some concerns. I think even in just reading the proposed resolution and the way it's written, I'm just not even sure I understand completely what's going to be required of us, going forward. If I understand it correctly, it says that we're to provide the city written proof of a background check. So not the fact that we would be doing a background check with tenants' personal information, which is, certainly a concern, but more to give proof that it was done. So I guess one of my main questions is what's the actual deliverable that we need to give to code enforcement in order to renew our permits on an annual basis. The way I read it, it's also my understanding that it would only apply to new tenants. I'm not positive about that from the way this is written, but I definitely would like to confirm that. And also in the way that it's written, if I understand this correctly, it says prior to accepting rent from any new tenants, the property owner must provide the city with written proof. The way it's written in saying prior to accepting rent, if I, at one of my properties, say 2 months from now after this goes into effect, if that unit turns over and I clean up the unit, make my repairs, advertise it for rent, and find a tenant, typically, and I should say too, by the way, we already do background checks. That's we've done that in the past. But typically the last step of turning over a unit would be to do the background check. If I'm then supposed to take that background check or proof of it and turn it into the city before I'll be issued or before I can accept any rent from the tenant. That's a big concern for me, because staff-wise, I can't tell from this here if there's going to be one person in charge of all this. Is the whole building department going to be in charge of this? Could it take 3 weeks to get that feedback back? Because I could see that as being a huge problem for landlords all over the city. You know, if we wait 2 or 3 days, the tenant that's interested in moving into that unit might be gone and have moved into another unit at that time. So that's a concern. Another concern would be, I don't know if I understand completely from this, you know, quite often we rent to families. So if I have a husband, a wife, a son, a daughter, is the background check required for all those individuals? Or for that matter, quite often we have a cosigner too. So would the cosigner potentially be eligible to be the background check? I think these are all questions that require a lot of thought, and honestly, I'm not sure how many people on the board are currently landlords or have been landlords, but I think we have a certain perspective and a certain value that we could bring to the discussion if we're given the opportunity to work on some of that feedback back and forth. I mean, I guess ideally that would have happened at the public hearing last month, but again, I didn't know about it, so I wasn't here. And it was also my understanding that not a lot of other landlords were here, so unfortunately, I'm guessing you guys probably didn't get a lot of feedback last month. So anyways, those are my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
How are you? My name is Joe Finneran. I'm a local landlord. I came here to ask some questions about the background check that was, I guess, passed a couple weeks or are going to be maybe proposed tonight. I didn't really hear about the public hearing. It's obviously going to affect me. I had some of the same questions that Brandon and the other lady had. My personal opinion, I don't see why there needs to be a background check. I mean, these are our homes. We obviously want good people to be in there. You know, code enforcement's pretty strict these days about keeping everything up to par. City of Middletown is the only city in Orange County, the only town that I know of that even requires a rental permit every year, and, you know, for the inspectors to come out and make sure everything's okay. Now to have a background check, it just adds more cost to the landlords, and like the lady said, it'll rise the rent, which will, you know, push poor people out. Another thing is you don't need a background check to buy a house in Middletown, so why would you need a background check to rent a house? Is the city going to check for people buying the house? Are they going to check their credit report also? Is the city going to check, you know, their savings accounts or their employment, you know? That's not required, and that was never proposed, so we shouldn't really just single out renters for this background check, or landlords or people that renting. Like I said, if there's no proposed law, people buy a house, and at the end, it's the same end result. You have a neighbor that's renting, you have a neighbor that owns the house. There's still people living there, and, you know, you don't know who moves in. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Gracie Gonzalez. I am also a landlord in the city of Middletown. I've been a landlord for over 15 years here, and I too have tenants that have been with me for 10, 12 years. I also believe that background check, it's not necessary. It's going to make things a lot worse for us, landlords. I've never had a problem with none of my tenants. I also do my own background checks. And the first thing that I explain to them is that this is a place for you to live. I expect you to take care of it, to keep it, and to follow all the rules, and never had any problems. And also my question is, according to your proposal, so before I take any money from anybody, I have to send you the background check. Does that mean that you are going to approve the tenant that I rent when it's my business, it's my property? I don't think it's necessary. It's just going to make things worse for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the council?
Hello, my name is Elon Sasso, and I'm also a landlord in the city of Middletown. I'd like to, you know, mirror everything that was just said by all these other landlords here. a lot of the way that this is written is extremely confusing. It also, in my view, the way that this is presented infringes on some tenant rights that are just according to fair housing. So I think there definitely needs to be some clarity as to what is being asked of us to follow. Obviously, providing personal information on any tenant to any other body other than the landlord, which the information is intended to make a decision, is against the Fair Housing Act. And as everyone said here, I mean, you know, the code enforcement in Middletown is extremely on point. They're very diligent, to say the least. I think that, you know, most of us in the city are trying to do our best in maintaining our properties, doing the right thing. And, you know, this is just adds another layer of work. There's also the questions of the timing it takes to turn around a lot of the paperwork. You know, sometimes we can wait, you know, 6 weeks to get a municipal search. So by adding other layers to the process of renting, it just makes everything so much more difficult, both from us and I imagine also for the people that live in Middletown. So that's it. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, everyone. How are you? My name is Geneva Jamil. I'm in law enforcement in New York City for many years. I've been love the way City of Middletown is doing their job. I take a different approach. I think they're cleaning up. It looks good. You could tell. I'm a landlord here for 10 years. Had great relationships with the towns. I've seen, you know, if it's the road service, if it's the improvements, if it's the parks. Being on the job, I've learned that people lie. People will do anything. Once you get a co-signer in, you're not going to improve them. I think everyone's responsible for their own stuff. That's the best way to manage things. I also have a question. If one tenant gets approved by me, he doesn't like my apartment, the next landlord's going to have to run the same credit. Waste of money, waste of time. I just don't see it as a necessary choice. I think that we're doing a good job. Let's stay with it. I got tenants who I'm not looking to raise their rent. I get a tenant that's paying $700 in a 3-bedroom. I could easily get a lot more. You could talk to any landlords. I'm not looking to raise his rent. I don't want him out. I want him to stay. He's a vet. He's got nowhere to go. What are we going to do with him? So what should I do? So I'll pay $100. I could afford it. This time, next time. But, you know, I don't want to put this guy out on the street, and I don't want more money from him. He's fine. He's happy exactly where he is. He's going to stay there until 120, like they say. So my approach is, it's just not so necessary. I think that you guys are doing a great job. Let's continue the work. Let's work as a team. And, you know, it's just not, we don't need it. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Reports of department heads, economic development.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight on the agenda, you have a resolution for our 2018 CDBG action plan to submit to HUD and to have the mayor sign all the documents. Also, the mayor tomorrow is going to have a press announcement regarding a project at the Woolworths project. That's 4 o'clock in the Paramount Theater lobby. Also, major concert at the Paramount this Thursday. We have about 100 tickets left, so it's almost sold out, so it's still a chance to get a ticket to the hottest show coming this week, Three Dog Night. And the summer concert series started, and we've been getting great crowds already, so summer is off and running. Any questions?
Anybody from Maria? Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
DPW Commissioner.
Good evening. I'll be very brief tonight. I just want to thank the landlords in here, whoever spoke, to complement the code enforcement program in the city of Middletown. as it is, I think truly it's a leader in its code enforcement and trying to improve the quality of life in the city of Middletown for everyone, the tenants, the rentals, the landlords, and the homeowners. Just want to update you a little bit about the traffic operation that is in design right now. And there's a newer technology that we will be using, hopefully in the design. We're exploring it right now, which is called adaptive traffic control system. Adaptive meaning that it's not going to be just synchronized and it's going to be set up for a certain time or certain day that is going to have enough, green for so many seconds in one direction and red in the other direction. It's going to be changing. It's going to adapt to the flow of the traffic. And this is basically the newest technology that is being implemented in the traffic operation design. So hopefully we'll be successful in dealing with that and implementing it. Also, we will have camera system associated with it, so we will have centralized monitoring of our traffic operation in DPW and in the police department as well, so we can respond more effectively to any traffic jams or any issues at the major intersections throughout the city of Middletown. The Black Dirt Sewer project, it's a very difficult project where the contractor is installing sewer line at 22 foot deep below ground, which is a very, very dangerous and risky operation, but the project is moving along. There are some issues, some problems like in every construction project, but we're working through it on a daily basis. Same applies for the traffic for the roundabout at James P. Kelly Way and County Route 78. That project is progressing very nicely as well. There are some issues working through it every day as well in order to progress the project, which is moving very well. I will stop at this point. There are many other projects that are taking place. I will take your questions if you have any.
Any questions for Jacob? Alderman Tobin?
I have one. Our fourth ward meeting, the residents asked about the Sprague Street project behind there. Has the meeting been set in August yet to discuss what's going to happen back there?
For which project? I'm sorry.
Behind Sprague Street, the culvert there.
Oh, New York Rising?
Yeah, New York Rising. Yeah.
No, there's only internal, not for public yet.
Oh, okay.
There's an internal meeting between the mayor, myself, New York Rising, and the consultant.
Has that been set yet, or?
Yes, in July. But that's not open to the public yet. It's only for internal.
Will there be a public meeting after that, or?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
That's it.
Anyone else?
I'll get you that
Minor?
date, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Jacob, I just was taking a couple pictures down on Elm Street, and a couple of the residents were concerned about how, the project's you said it's run into some problems. Is everything being straightened out now? Because I know they don't have any place to park their cars there, and they were concerned when the race was going by, and but they said there had been some broken pipes or some issues with the poles. And do you know anything? Can you clarify that a little bit?
Yeah, there isn't any issue with the poles that I know of. There is a conflict with the water line. Imagine you're 22 foot below ground, digging down there with trench boxes, and as a sheeting mechanism to protect the excavation from caving in, and at the same time you have water main on top of you that has only 4 foot cover. So you got 16, you're down there, you got water main. So the water main is old and it's breaking every few, a couple of times a day almost. So we are planning to replace that water line once it's completed. Now the residents in there, if anybody is having difficulty with parking, they need to approach us, tell us about it, because we send letters out to them and the contractor is coordinating parking for them and to make sure that they have access to their property at all times. So I have not heard of any complaint. The accident that happened yesterday is a gas service that was pulled out of the gas main, causing gas leak, and that's because of procedure during the construction that was followed. should not have been followed, but that caused some dirt to fall in. Everybody was out of the ditch, nobody was in danger, but caused that gas service to be pulled out of the main. And that was attended to immediately by the fire department, myself and Orange and Rockland, and the engineers were there, the contractor was there, and they worked it out. But it's unfortunate, but it's an accident that happened, and we regret that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Alderman John Francois.
Commissioner, how soon we gonna have the list for the paving project, do you know?
The rest, I've been going over it myself and the mayor, and the council president was in process of giving to him, but we had, to be honest with you, we're not too happy. I mean, you heard President Rodriguez in the past complain about the roads, and the mayor, and many of you. So right now, the mayor has the list, but it's going to be changing drastically, because what we plan on doing is adding all the roads that are being dug up right now by Orange and Rockland, like on North Street, East Main, and any other roads that they're going to be doing right now. Unfortunately, we have to cut our own paving in order to include their roads that they destroyed. I call it destroyed because we're not too happy with them. You know. Otherwise, we're going to have to sit on it for another year, because all you have to do is just look at Highland Avenue extension in there, North Street, James Street. You see how poor the road surface is at this time, how they lift it. We had several meetings with them. Some of them were contentious meetings. I know they're watching us on TV, because I know some of their bosses, they watch this meeting, and they told me about it. And you know, it's very unfortunate. You know, they tried, they hired the new people. Bottom line is, the matter is not being addressed. We still have those our roads are ripped apart by them. So we want to include, the list is going to be modified to include the new roads they just finished digging up, or they're in the process of finishing digging up, so we can pave it in July 4th, after July 4th. We can start paving along with our annual paving program. That's why you don't have the list yet.
Is there a possibility that we're gonna have Beers Drive and Burst Drive on that list?
Pierce Drive, no, it wasn't even, no, unfortunately, we have a lot of, when you see the list, there's much more, there's quite a few roads that really need a serious attention in the city. I mean, East Avenue, it was paved over 10 years ago, I believe, and you know, it needs to be paved again. Even Highland Avenue, it was paved over, 12 years ago, it needs to be paved again. So this is the new program that we implemented in milling and paving. So Beers Drive, I believe it's in better shape than the rest of them when you see the list. So, and the list is subject to all of you guys reviewing it and approving it. It's not like something I would say, here, this is what we got to do, this is what we have to do. We're going to have to talk about it, and hey, say, and when you see something in there, you say, look, this road is much better shape than this road. How come you didn't choose this road? You selected this road. Then we can change it. But absolutely, we're going to be as flexible as we can be to accommodate everybody, with the priority to get rid of those roads that were butchered off by Orange and Rockland, and as well as doing our own roads that are falling apart because of age. They're very old. They need to be milled and repaved. So we'll share that with you, and we'll go over.
Thank you, sir.
Priorities.
Alderman Johnson.
Two things. I just wanted to be clear on the Elm Street. I did visit with one of the residents who was not entirely happy with how it was going. The water main is going to be replaced also during this project? Is that what you said?
The water main, we're looking into that. It was not part of the scope of the work, but right now it's being broken at several times in there because of the nature of the work and the age of the water main. So what we are planning on doing, once they are done with the sewer line, which is 22 foot below ground, then once they're done with all that, then we will come back and replace the water line on top of it. And that's only in Elm Street, which is basically from Manhattan Avenue to the railroad bed. That's going to be an extra in there because it was not part of the original project. But I think it will be the right thing to do since the water main got chopped off in so many places.
Well, that's interesting, because that was his observation of why not do multiple things while you're in that same location, so I guess that'll be good for him.
Yes.
With respect to the traffic light, when is that program going to be implemented?
The program started already. We're looking for a final design. Many people, they send us email, what are these cameras mounted by the poles? That was the start, the initiation of that project. And these cameras, they are wide-angle cameras in there, and basically they are computerized so that they count all the traffic that is going through one intersection into the other, all the roads that are leading into the intersection, counting the cars and everything. So they download all this information, then they will do intersection capacity analysis in there. And
That's going to be adjusted on a real-time basis, or that's going to be adjusted for the future?
it's going to be the capacity of that, to analyze the capacity of that intersection at this time, yes. And which is what they have. They have to download the data, and then the consulting engineer, the designer, he will be analyzing it, and they will see is there a need to add a left hand only? Is there a need to say straight through and right hand, and so on and so forth? All these they will be analyzed. Do we need to take more right of way? More widen the road or what have you? Do we need to add parking or eliminate parking at that intersection or push it back? So all that will be analyzed.
I know, living here a long time, whenever I go past the post office, I'm more often than not stopping at all three traffic lights, and I always wondered if that was going to be forever or if just luck of the draw or how that works. So
Absolutely.
It'll be interesting.
The traffic lights will be synchronized, and also they will have an adaptive, not all of them, but the priority ones, the major ones will have that adaptive technology installed in them, as well as synchronizing others.
Appreciate it.
Anyone else? Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you.
Fire chief.
For just a minute, while you're talking about the roughness of the
No,
road.
we're during department heads. Fire chief.
I know, but it's
You
just,
cannot talk right now. The public's closed. It's fire chief.
Good evening, everybody. A lot of people to thank. We had the funeral for past Chief Lamascolo. I'd like to thank the police department and all their organizations that they helped with traffic. Also our mutual aid that we brought in, Pocatello, Circleville, Mechanicstown, and we had Slate Hill in Chester to do the flag raising. So I just want to thank them all. And then on Wednesday, prior to that, we had the third alarm fire on, came in for, I believe it was 224 North Street, and ended up being three structures, 78 and 80 Linden Avenue. Was quite an intense situation, and Manpower did a great job. So thanks to all the manpower. And we'll be participating in the Kids' Day out at Thrall Park on the 9th, and we'll be participating at the fireworks on the 30th at Davidge. Fire police will be involved with Ruthie Dino and the graduation at the high school.
Any questions for the chief? Thank you, chief. City treasurer.
Good evening. Just one comment tonight. The external auditors have left a couple of month or so ago now, and they're finishing up the statements. No surprises, and we'll have them at the next scheduled meeting.
Any questions for Don? Thank you, Don. Police chief.
Good evening. Just a few items this evening. There's going to be a couple things before that'll come before resolutions for you tonight. One being the SRO program. Before you would be a proposal to fund 4 additional police officers to support the SRO program. I've been in negotiations with the school administrators and the board. I think we've come to a fair agreement on repayment. There will be initial cost to the city to fund this program, but the school will be reimbursing us on an hourly rate per officer per school. Right now, we've agreed upon staffing 4 of the schools that are here within the city limits: the high school, Twin Towers, Truman Moon, and Presidential Park Elementary, each with 1 officer throughout the school year, along with a car. And again, I think we've come to a fair financial responsibility on the school's end. And I also believe the input that I've received through the community, this is a sought-after program throughout the community. It brings a lot to not only the community, improves the safety within the schools, it improves relationships with us, the police department and the youth, and the community as a whole. So I really believe the value of the program way outweighs the cost associated with it. Additionally, tonight before you will be a resolution to accept a grant from Department of Criminal Justice. It's called the GIVE Grant. We've been receiving this for, I want to say, about 8 or 9 years now. It allows us to put police officers in identified areas that need additional patrols throughout the year. So it's definitely a positive amount of money that comes in to give us additional resources throughout the times of year that are needed. Additionally, I would like to bring to attention is we sponsored with the Sheriff's Department. It's called Civilian Response to Active Shooter Event Training. With what's going on throughout the nation right now with the active shooter events and hostile situations, we thought it would be fitting to bring some type of a training here to the community. It is a free training that we partnered with the Sheriff's Office on. It'll be hosted on June 20th at 6 p.m. here at the Paramount Theater. It is free of charge, so we welcome everyone to come out. We encourage people to come out. There is information on our website and our Facebook, and we'll be making additional postings of that as well. Additionally, our test for police officer has finally been released. So the announcements are available, the applications are available. The test will be September 15th of this coming year. The application, there's a $40 fee, and they must be received to civil service by August 2nd, 2018. Again, we will have information on our website, on Facebook, on the city's website on how to go about doing such. This Sunday will be the Ruthie Dino Run, June 10th. The race begins at 8 o'clock. We will be closing streets around 7 a.m. A majority of those streets will be in the second ward, so please check the websites. There'll be a diagram and a map of what streets will be closed. I apologize for any inconvenience, but we do that for the safety of the participants. Additionally, on Saturday, June 9th in Thrall Park, we'll be hosting the Kids Celebration. As you heard, the fire department will be joining us. Parks and Rec will be there. It's a great opportunity. Bring your children out to Thrall Park. That begins at 11 o'clock in the morning. Other than that, I have nothing unless you have any questions for me.
Alderman Tobin?
What happened in Chester at in the response? There was multiple agencies there, and I think one of the things they realized was that not just the Chester police would be in the building, but the other agencies would be there, and it would be helpful for them to be familiar with the building. Are we familiar with the town of Wallkill schools, like the layout, like the schools that are in the town of Wallkill? Do our officers, have they ever go through those buildings and know, like, in case, I imagine we both would be responding, town of Wallkill and Middletown, if there was a active shooter or something?
You're absolutely correct. Any type of large-scale event like that will cause a mutual aid type response from multiple agencies, law enforcement, fire, EMS, and everybody coming together. There is some confusion initially with that because of everybody coming in and just trying to figure out what is going on. We do train with other municipalities for that type of incident. Hopefully it never does happen. We have been in the schools in Wallkill in past incidents. We don't train there on a regular basis, but ideally someone that is familiar with the location and the layout of the building would be participating with whatever event we're dealing with.
Anyone else? Thank you, Chief. Superintendent of Recreation?
Good evening. You have 3 things that'll be with resolutions tonight. So one, I want to thank Little League. They gave us a donation to just help with some of the field supplies with all the rain we've had. We've run out of Diamond Dry, and Little League has donated some money to the city to help with that cost. Also, you will see you voted a while ago to accept $18,000 from the National Recreation and Parks Association. They have contacted us and offered us another $5,000, which will make that $23,000. Our refrigerators are in. We have ordered 10 brand new tables, 60-some brand new folding chairs, which the city could use. We're going to be building about 15 to 17 new picnic tables with that money. We're also going to be replacing the roof on the small shelter because that is one of the food sites. So that is an enhancement, and we're also going to look to put some more individual 1 picnic table shelters like you see at Davidge. So we're going to have a total of 2 at Davidge and 2 at Maple. and that'll be paid for with that fund. So it's helping the city all the way around, on top of providing food, feeding areas all year round at the teen center, weekends at War Memorial Pool, and obviously we've done for years feeding in our playgrounds in the summer when the kids are not in school. The other thing on there, you'll see that Orange Ulster BOCES is once again asked to have a group of kids, which will do some educational as well as work study with us this summer. So there's a resolution for the mayor to assign that agreement. They'll be paid through summer youth employment, which we also take those youth. But the more youth we have working in the city, the less youth that are hanging out and they're getting job skills, so that's a great thing. And then lastly, folks should look, we're going to be running a free lacrosse clinic, getting the interest in lacrosse going. So you've been seeing that on Facebook. It'll be on our website. We're going to take advantage of some of the college students that are home to implement this new clinic for the young kids. We are starting a summer youth basketball league. I have to thank Kenny McCalla for stepping up and wanting to get involved in that with positive youth development. We're also starting new hosting birthday parties, which can be used in the teen center area, and that's becoming quite popular. And lastly, people are coming in. We are done with summer hiring. The only hirees we're still looking to pick up are lifeguards. We are short in the lifeguards, but all camp counselors, playground counselors, maintenance has all been full. Well, we're doing orientations and training, and we're ready to open up on June 25th.
Any question for Chris? Alderman Johnson.
Just had one question. The food program, I forgot what you said. Is that low cost or no cost?
That is no cost. That is free. And it's through the state ed and the school district, and the school district actually makes money on that by collaborating with us.
Great.
Yep.
Good work. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Corporation Council. Yeah.
Not yet, but.
Acting corporation.
Acting, okay.
In training.
And training.
Training.
Right, there you go. And I don't have anything tonight unless anybody has any questions.
Alderman Tobin.
Yeah, some of the questions are raised. I wrote some down about the, is it appropriate to ask them?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I believe I've addressed all these concerns before, but I'm happy to go through it again.
The costs, lower costs.
The cost of, well, there are many entities out there, companies that do these background checks. Most landlords I've spoken to, and most that we've had in court where we've already been implementing this, indicate that they already do background checks. Most responsible landlords wouldn't rent to tenants without doing it. The ordinance is modeled, and I've said this before, it's modeled after federal regulations. These are the same types of background checks that the federal government requires for many federally funded housing programs. The ordinance applies to new tenants. There is no Fair Housing Code violation. Again, these are based on federal regulations. Nobody has to provide the city with any confidential information. The only thing the city is requiring here is proof that it was done by a reputable entity. And we are not in any way participating in the decision whether or not to rent to a tenant. That is solely up to the landlord who gets the background check. We are not going to see the background check. All we're going to see is proof that it was done. This started in city court where I've had a number of landlords come in over the past couple of years, and a big majority, and claim that code violations were due to bad tenants. And we began to implement these background checks in plea agreements, and not a single landlord has complained about it in the city court. So when you get new tenants, you're supposed to be applying for an amended rental permit anyway, so I don't see this as causing any undue time delay or expense, and I expect DPW will be implementing it very thoroughly, just like they implement the rental permit program now. The rental permit program now has a variety of things that have to be put in applications, insurance, all kinds of things, and I have not heard any complaints that the DPW doesn't process them quickly, and I don't expect this to be any kind of a holdup either. I don't know if I've covered everything, but. Well, they're not supposed to put in a new tenant until they have a new rental permit. So I don't really see what the difference is. I don't see it, and obviously if something does happen, we'll work on that with DPW.
I mean, Sutton Hill has almost 500 apartments. How are we going to do if every year, say once a year, 500 people move in?
Background check good for 1 year, or
It's good forever. It only applies to new tenants.
You see it happen, but if someone that's undocumented, for someone who's renting an apartment, you see it having trouble getting an apartment?
No, it's not going to be up to the city. It's going to be up to the landlord. The landlord will be the sole decision maker here.
But in order to do a background check, you need a social security number or a driver's license.
That depends on the entity that's doing the background check. If they can't produce, my opinion is
I've been doing background checks for 19 years, and that's what you need.
And my opinion is if they don't get that kind of information in the background check, that's up to the landlord.
Can they run the background check without it? That's a question.
You're not in the system. Anybody come up, Miguel Rodriguez, a million people come up, Miguel Rodriguez.
And
Put my social security number in or my driver's license, you're not in the local or in the federal.
And my understanding is that does not prevent tenants who are undocumented from renting in federal housing programs. The checking entity can still check on previous tenancies that tenant was involved in. There's a variety of things they can do without getting a social security number or a driver's license. But the city's not going to be making those decisions. The city just wants to see that a check was conducted.
So what will they provide to the city?
Toby, you got
Just
to turn
proof.
your mic on.
Oh, sorry.
Just proof from the entity that conducted the check that a check was done.
Printout or something, like a
Right.
receipt?
Like on a letterhead.
Anyone else?
And I would say this, although it's not in the ordinance, if someone came to DPW and said that we can't find an entity to do a check, as you're saying, Mr. President, it would be my advice to DPW that they don't have to do the check. If it can't be done, it can't be done. But I just don't believe that some kind of check can't be done.
So I help run youth football. Any coach, any volunteer that wants to help youth football, you have to give your social security number or your driver's license. And then proof of addresses too, because the company runs it. And that's the cheapest. I pay $10 a person.
Mm-hmm.
Been doing it for 12 years. My other business has been doing it. Every single person, you need a social security number or a driver's license.
And my understanding is that the federal government doesn't require that type of information in order to be a tenant at a federally funded housing program. Because it certainly is not the intent of the city to somehow legislate out undocumented people.
Okay. Anyone else on the council? Alderman John Francois?
Once we receive that, the document, how do we verify that the background check was being done? Is that a long process once you call the company?
I don't see why we have to verify it. This is just an assistance program. It's not to become big brother to landlords or to the people who are doing the background checks. Like I said, it came about because landlords were using the excuse in city court that they had unruly tenants. And it will cut down on that defense, that's for sure. But no, I don't see the city doing any kind of verification that certain things were done or not done.
How do we know if it's legit?
We don't until there would be trouble in that facility. There'd be code violation, and then we would find out when the person comes into court.
I have a question about so one gentleman had a question about someone making mistakes. So the landlord's not precluded to renting to someone that has been arrested in the past,
No, absolutely not.
WI or something.
Absolutely not.
That's up their choice, right?
Right. We just want the landlords to be aware.
But then if there's a sex offender, they also are now aware, or a crime, they'll be aware of the crime the person committed, or if they do that background check?
Probably.
Right, okay. To keep us safe,
Alderman Kleiner.
This is sort of the same question, but if the landlord goes to one agency and gets a background check and they say they couldn't find the person, is that going to suffice for having had it done?
Yes, they tried.
Yeah.
They tried. We're not expecting the impossible.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Alex.
Okay.
City Clerk.
Okay. Late Friday night, the new website was launched. So, and everybody has a chance to take a look. I'll be doing a presentation on it probably in a couple of meetings. The next meeting, I know we have 2 presentations, so I didn't want to take up that much time on that. We redid the homepage, made it a little bit lighter, a little bit easier, clearer to read. We made it more user-friendly to, all of the pages now have agendas and minutes for that particular thing for the planning board on it. It has the time of when the next meeting is, and it's all on one page. So I think it's a lot more user-friendly than the other website was. So if you have a chance, anybody has any questions, I know I sent an email out to everybody. Let me know, and we can make any other changes. But so far, everything's been going very smooth. There has been no complaints, and everything's been working very well. That's all I have.
Any questions for John? Thank you, John. Public hearings and grievances.
Okay, tonight we have a public hearing on an addition to zoning of the city code to change certain properties in the C2 Limited Business District and the DMU Downtown Mixed Use District. And this is notice was hereby given that the city of Middletown will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 5th, on or as near 8 p.m. as possible, Common Council Chambers, 2nd floor, 16 James Street, to hear any and all persons wishing to be heard on the proposed zoning change to the DMU Downtown Mixed Use District for the following properties. I won't read them all. But they were all listed in the newspaper. Any and all persons wishing to be heard will be given the opportunity to speak either for or against the proposed zone change. The complete proposed change of the zone was available in the Common Council Clerk's Office, City Hall, 16 James Street, Room 12. This was published in the Times Herald Record on 5/21 and 5/22, and also on the city website.
This time the public hearing is open. Anyone from the public here to address on the zoning code?
Hello. How you doing? My name is Elon Sasso. I own 20-22 Cortlandt Street. That's the first property on the list. We purchased the property, I think it was about 5 years ago. It's in an R2 zone currently. Changing it to a Z, I think it's C2, would mean that if my property was vacant for over a year, that I would then have to go to the planning board to be able to use it again as a 2-family home. I think the requirement would be that I keep an office on the first floor, or the first level, street level as it says, and then the second unit upstairs would be able to be used as an apartment. Given that obviously I purchased the property and while it was in an R2 zone, the use is currently a 2-family home. I've had 2 great tenants there for 5 years, and I would like to keep my house, my home in an R2 zone, so that I don't run that risk ever of it being changed to another use. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to talk about the zoning?
How are you? My name's Joe Finneran. I don't own any property in this specific zone, so I really don't have much of an interest. But I know the city's put a lot of restrictions with the amortization law for, 4-family, 3-family, going back to 2 or 1 family. There's a lot of people that, bought property in this R2 that's becoming C2 that's going to limit their possibilities now, and they might have paid more money because it was an R2 zone instead of a C2. Like the other gentleman said, now, if it's vacant for more than a year, it's going to have to go back to an office on the first floor and maybe residential on the second floor. If somebody's fixing it up or turning over ownership, it's vacant for a little while, or they can't get the rental permit in time, it can create a problem for some people. From what I see, it's a residential neighborhood. I think it goes down Cortlandt and Linden Avenue there, and it's been that way for a while. So maybe if the council can say you can also make it C2, I don't know if that, maybe it has potential to have an office on the first floor, but not where you completely, wipe out the R2 allowance, and now you're changing the whole zoning code. There could be people that have owned the properties for 20 and 30 years, and now you're really restricting their use and what they can do. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone on,
I also have a property on John Street. And my question is, if that goes, can we be grandfathered in? My house is a two-family house. And so that if I'm going to sell the property later on and then the zoning is changed, that's going to create a problem for me as well. So I'm asking if that is a possibility. If not, then I would like to keep it a two-family. Again, never had a problem with it. And that's it. Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else? Anyone on the council? All the record so.
Alex, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding here, just to be clear to the landlords who came up to speak, this does not restrict you. This actually is more expansive. For the properties that you're talking about amortization and fears of change. Your property uses aren't going to change with this adjustment. If anything, it opens it up rather than restricts you down. So I just wanted to be clear, and Alex, I don't know if you can back me up, but
Right,
it's my
it
understanding.
allows for more uses in that particular zone. Everything is grandfathered in. Actually, it takes, the R2 is now subject to amortization. It would not be subject to amortization as a C2. And if a property became vacant, it's still a permitted use with planning board approval to have any kind of residential in a C2 zone.
To translate that legalese for anyone who looks confused, that it means if you have an R2, if you have a two-family home, nothing changes. Even if it's vacant, you don't have a risk where you now have to put a commercial property into that property. This is just expansive of what your zone is now. It doesn't restrict you in a different format. No, but what he's saying is that does not change. That doesn't change you're still fine with the way the property is. This just adds to that zone what people can do with their property. It doesn't take away from you, and it doesn't change the use of your property. It's just that for people who have a property with 4 units, they are now not subject to the amortization. It doesn't change your situation or the gentleman who spoke before, so I want to ease your concern there. That's all.
Does that only apply to DMU?
I'm sorry?
It only applies to the DMU zone.
Well, no, there's two resolutions. One is DMU, the other is C2.
Anyone on the council? Motion to close? All record assumed, seconded by Alderman Green. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing's closed. Mayor?
Good evening. I would also like to join the council president and the council in offering my condolences to the families of Chief Lamascola, former Alderwoman Sandy Summers, and Lieutenant and Bureau Commander, former Bureau Commander Earl Bonnell. The Board of Estimates today met regarding the Heritage Trail today. And I know many people are looking for why the project has somewhat stalled, and it has stalled in a certain area. But we had to get the trees down by March 31st in order to comply with the federal regulation on Indiana bats. Since then, the design has been completed to East Main Street, and we ran into a problem with the DEC regarding a culvert that goes along a Palmer Avenue where the trail comes into Palmer Avenue area. The culvert is not failing. The structure is not failing. It is about 80 feet long, I believe. It's two 2x2 culverts, and it is about 20 feet below the trail. But on the same easement that you go over the trail, you cross over the culverts. Actually, beavers have a habit of clogging these small culverts up, and the city, historically, in order to clear the culverts, we have got to bring in heavy equipment down Palmer Avenue and to reconstruct a ramp from the upper part of the trail down to the area to bring this heavy equipment in to clean the culverts. We've been I briefed the council on it before, but I'll just give it to you quickly. Jacob felt that it was a project, part of the trail project that could have been funded by the state government. The county engineers on this project refused to submit it as part of the project, claiming that it was a $1.2 million addition, and that would bring it over the threshold for incidental to the overall $6.7 million of this segment of the trail. We have since come to, with better numbers, down to about $600,000. The city still doesn't believe it's our responsibility to replace, and we've been going back and forth, and every time we advise the county engineers to revise the plans, they take 2 months and come back with the same plans. Finally, the DEC kicked in and said that they will not approve the trail project without a solution to the culvert issue. The county engineer, HVEA, and these are not county employees, this is an outside engineering company. They continue to submit to the DEC, claiming that the city would now be, they removed the culvert from the project and claimed the city would be responsible for the $600,000 cost. We said that's unacceptable to us. So we had meetings with the county executive. We thought we reached an agreement a couple months ago. It didn't come about. County Legislator Joel Sierra arranged for a meeting about 2 weeks ago with myself, Jacob, Maria Bruni, Rich Gerton, and other city representatives, along with a whole host of county people, including the county executive and chairman of the legislature, Steve Brescia. We did reach a solution, which was voted on by the Board of Estimate today and is being presented to you tonight. That solution will allow us to sign the intermunicipal agreement, and for Jacob, who also approved the plans for submission to the DEC, with a note to the DEC saying that the culvert can be removed from the trail project and that the city and county will jointly address the $600,000 cost. Both the county and the city, based on your commitment tonight, will be committing to $100,000 each. Assemblywoman Aileen Gunther has committed $200,000 to the project from some type of multimodal funding from New York State, and the county exec has requested a $200,000 grant through Senator Ponasik's office, and he's still waiting approval. I spoke with the county exec today, saying that we still don't have a full commitment from the state for this funding. He encouraged me to advise you that between the two of us, we will work it out to please move ahead with approving this project this evening, signing the agreement so that we can move this project forward, because we do have deadlines and we do want to get the shovel into the ground this year to get this trail started and constructed to at least the East Main Street portion of the city. So that's what we're asking tonight. We are asking for you to approve that with that understanding. And if Senator Bonasig is unable to come through with the other $200,000, then it's back to the negotiating table with the county, but I'm sure we will be able to work it out. In the larger picture of the total trail project of $12+ million, the final $200,000 should not be an impediment to us moving forward. So hopefully you will approve that tonight and we can move ahead with the project. Many of you are complaining about vacant buildings and deteriorated buildings in your neighborhoods. Some are vacant and bank-owned, but are still legitimate units of housing, and others are vacant and need to be torn down. Alex continues to prosecute people in court and banks, and we're going to start using the zombie property laws that are available to us through New York State. But at some point, and we brought this up a few months ago, we need to know what the council would like to invest in the demolition and how we're going to select which properties need to be torn down and where. So I'm hoping that the council president, you'll put this into a committee and see what the initial investment will be from the council to begin this process of demolition. We're going to continue with the court prosecutions, but we need to focus on some of the buildings that we actually know need to come down immediately. And everyone, each one of you has a concern in your wards, so we need to do it fairly. We need to do it on a as-need basis also, but the most important part is we need the money, and we need a financial commitment from the board. So I urge you to hopefully have a decision by late June or early July on that matter. One other area of concern that we are getting an awful lot of complaints about property maintenance, and that is primarily grass. And with the late snow this year into late April, we had snow. We did give some leniency to people in early May. We didn't start sending out high grass notices until the middle of May. That decision was made by myself and Commissioner Tawil because of the condition of property. A lot of people were not unable to mow their lawns, soft lawns, and for whatever reasons, but we did make that decision that we would send out notices in mid-May. We sent out about 200 notices to date, and we have mowed some, I think 22 or some in the area of 20 that we've mowed, and we've billed about $2,600 for those who we have done. There's a lot of commercial property, such as the Acme Bus Company on Fulton Street, very high grass, Union Street. We did do some mowing on that yesterday. We noticed the owner of the property was there today to try to finish it up to reduce his cost. But there is a lot of high grass complaints that we've received. So my discussions yesterday, we have 3 part-timers that are called the lot crew, and we usually add a couple more when school gets out. It's usually school kids that do it, and usually it's we get a big hit at the beginning of summer, and then it's usually maintained. Most people comply with a letter, but for some reason this year, I think we've had about, out of the nearly 200 responses, 54 were cut by the owners, so about 25%, a little less than 25% on the first letter. So we're looking to do 2 things. One, we can't physically keep up with the cutting of all these properties, including some city-owned lots. Myself, the council president, and commissioner took a ride this evening, and we did notice that there are city properties. For example, Lake Avenue, I believe 40 Lake Avenue, the grass is high. It's unacceptable. So we came up with an option of creating an RFP to go out to local landscaping companies where we would seek their assistance almost on a rotating basis with the, like a tow list, where once the property is, exhausts its 5-day period of notice, that we can have a private landscaper go out based on a fee schedule, based on lot size. 50-foot lot would be X, 100-foot lot would be, Y, and commercial would be maybe time and material like we do. Of course, that's going to cost the city to outlay the cash to pay the vendor, and we then lien the property owner. I think it'll go a lot smoother. It'll free up our part-timers, lot crew, to do a better job maintaining city property. And at the same time, I actually think they'll do a better job of cutting the lawns too. The city crews are, they do their best. But these are kids. These are high school kids, and they really, if you live next door to a lot that the city just cut, you're really not that happy with the job that was done. The grass is left on the sidewalk, and it's just not a perfect job. So the beauty of this is, I think is it'll expedite the grass getting cut. It probably will be a little bit more costlier to the property owner. We are going to then also implement a part of the code that allows us to take chronic offenders to court along with cutting their lawn. So if you get 1 5-day notice that your lawn, and we don't usually send it out until the grass is probably 8, 10, 12 inches high. So it's not like, you didn't mow your lawn for a week and you're going to get a notice. That with chronic offenders, which we'll define, that we will then take them to court and they will also get penalized in the court process. Obviously, we're going to treat vacant properties, zombie properties, differently than we would treat an owner-occupied home. The thing we need to be cautious of is not overreaching, where we're pitting, a neighbor doesn't like another neighbor, and the grass is for, maybe they were on vacation for the week, and their grass got a little bit high because there was heavy rains, whatever the reasons. So we need to come up with a fair plan, is what I'm saying. And more focus on chronic offenders rather than people who just went away for a week or a week and a half on vacation. So we're working on doing that. We hope to present it to you at the next meeting. And we'll have to ask for some initial funding to do it. But again, the money will come back to the city, probably not within the same year, but it will come back to the city because it will go on as a lien on the property owners. So, we have 110 properties that are going to be inspected this week for compliance of the lawn regulation. And we haven't even violated all that we need to violate. The good news is, as we were riding around today, we did notice a lot of them did comply since this report was prepared. So people are getting the message, and it's unfortunate, but I know even in my own case, the back of my yard gets very wet, and sometimes you can't get back there with your lawnmower. And so so special considerations will, of course, be given to people with special circumstances. But it has to be fair. It has to be fair not only to the homeowner, but also to the neighborhood, that people keep up and maintain their properties. So if you have any questions, or if anyone would like to discuss it, feel free to set up a meeting. And if you have any input, send it by email, and we certainly can include it into the regulations that we are drafting. And I think that's all I have. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to address
Alderman
it.
Johnson?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Joe, like you say, we implemented that 5-day, it used to be 30 days at one time.
Yeah.
So the city is under a lot of stress trying to get these lawns. I also want to thank Code Enforcement Ranko Soon, who's took care of some properties that we had in our neighborhood. He's had them, they cut them all today, so I do appreciate him and his hard work.
Yeah, they're doing a good job with three part-timers. And the part-timers, I believe, we're going to move into full-time, part-time summer work. Yeah, they can't be year-round full-time, so we're going to give them more hours, but they're doing the best that they can, and it'll get better over the next few weeks, I promise.
Thank you. Just two comments, Mayor. Once again, we'll keep pinching ourselves on the Heritage Trail, but thank you for your perseverance on that. With respect to the grass conversation, I guess contracting out might be a good way to go. I just also wanted to point out, the Health Department had a seminar about 2 months ago at the college, and certainly tick-borne illness is a big concern. And when you have neighborhoods that are having grass that high, it does add a slight increase in concern of public health. So I think it's a good thing all the way around.
Excellent point, and one of the reasons why we should be doing it a little bit quicker.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Mayor. Reports of Alderman Tobin.
Just like to say that my condolences to the families, the people who have lost loved ones. Proud to have known Sandy Summers. She sat in the seat before me, and she was a kind-hearted, soft-spoken person, and she'll be missed. And that's it.
Alderman Green.
Hi, I'd like to echo that as well. I knew Sandy over a few years, and she was one of the kindest, certainly funniest people I knew. Always had a smile on her face, so she will be very missed. And certainly, my condolences to every family who suffered a loss. And the city suffered enough so far, I think, this year. I hope that, everyone can rest in peace. On another note, this coming Monday, June 11th, 7 p.m., right here in the Common Council chambers, we'll have our second ward constituents meeting, so we hope everyone can join us. Thank you.
Alderman Johnson.
Thank you. With respect to the background check, I guess we had our public hearing this evening rather than a month ago. I was kind of perplexed that nobody actually took part in that conversation, but better to have it now than not at all. I hope we've clarified that, because this was in my committee for several meetings, which they are public meetings, but they're not televised. I hope it's clarified some of the issues, and whether the council moves forward or not, we'll know in a few moments. With respect to Alderwoman Summers, I've only been here for 5 years. I got to know Sandy actually marching one of our parades, and she talked about her job as a social worker, and then the advent of her illness, which I guess was just described as cerebral vasculitis of unknown etiology. I also got to know her as her attending veterinarian, taking care of her cats, and I felt it was fortuitous when she was last hospitalized here in Orange Regional. It was a Sunday evening, and I had gotten out of work early, and I figured I'd stop by and say hi. And we chatted. We walked around the nurse's station about 4 laps. She was perfectly articulate and ambulatory and was hoping to come back to the table, and that was Sunday night. And Monday, she woke up to a recurrence of her symptoms, and it was a downward slide since then. I got to know her sister-in-law, Julie, and her mother, Nancy, who has since passed. I've never met them, but spoke with them on the phone frequently. And Sandy was a person who gave much more than she received, and that's what made her a good social worker and a good council alderman member, and she'll be missed. Thank you.
Alderman Consume.
Paul, it's hard to follow that because everything you said is 100% true. The city suffered a number of losses this year with people we've lost. Sandy's a tough one. I got to know Sandy before she fell ill and through the process, and there's a time where she couldn't drive, and we spent a lot of time in the car together, and just a really fascinating and dynamic woman. And her disease was so baffling and unexplained, and it hurt to lose her. I think we all lost at the end of the day. But it was an honor to know her, and my heart goes out to her family. For Chief Lamascolo, I did get to spend some time with him, and definitely one of my favorite former chiefs. Always looking for a seat next to him at a table to talk to him, or at the Wallkill picnics. And he was a fun and extraordinarily charming man, and I think he served this city in his many capacities very, very well. So we're very grateful to him, and I thank his family for sharing him with us. On that note, I'd like to move into the business end. The Neighborhood Watch meets next Tuesday here in Council Chambers at 7 p.m. For the Neighborhood Watch, we're heading into Night Out Against Crime season, which is always very exciting and stressful for me, but I would like to preemptively say thank you to the many local businesses who have already reached out to sponsor this event. It doesn't happen without their sponsorship. It is a fully funded by our community event, and this is indicative of where we live. Our business owners appreciate where they live and the community that they serve, and they always reach out to give back whenever they are asked, time and time again, and I'm very grateful to them all. So I'd just like to say thank you to everyone in advance. I look forward to another fantastic event, and I'll leave it at that this evening. Have a good night.
Alderman Kleiner.
Thank you. It's just a very busy time of year, as we know. It's nice to see the turnout. It's nice to see full house. For whatever the reason people are here, it's nice to see people involved. So thank you to everyone who came out tonight. Since the last time Judge Moson has stepped down, Judge Gerton has stepped up. Congratulations to both of them. John, congratulations and thank you on the website. It's an amazing, I still haven't learned it all, but it really works great, and there was a lot of work put into that, so thank you. Also, Touro College of Medicine graduated their first class of real doctors, the 4-year class graduation, so congratulations to them, and that was an excellent program they did at the Paramount. Also, this past Sunday was the Classic 10K, so thank Frank Giannino and everybody who puts that on, and thanks to the Middletown Police Department, who again did just such an excellent job at keeping the streets safe and keeping them moving. We also had Memorial Day, and I thank Bob Hayward and the Veterans Council. It was very nice. I especially like it when it starts at Walk Hill and goes to Thrall Park, because we walk downhill, and that's a help. But I thought the ceremony was very nice, and the general who spoke, he was a real kick. So thanks to them. I'm going to have a committee meeting on June 19th at 7:30. That'll be Communications Committee, and I'll let people know we are making progress on the city ID. As we've said, the devil's in the details, but Rich Gerton did finish drafting model legislation, so I'll be distributing that to people. I want to go over it with Alex and John. We have a couple of things we're going to tweak, but and then getting all the specific lists, and we want to be ready to go, and we need one more quote for equipment. So we're moving forward, but we, I think, are making really good progress, and so I will send that out to everyone before we have the meeting. That'll be 7:30 on June 19th for the Communications Committee. Chief Lamascola was one classy guy. He, of course, knew my folks because he worked up at the State Hospital. Before it was the Psych Center, it was the State Hospital. He worked there for many years, and it was really nice to see him at the fireman's dinner. He was in great spirits, and it was a shock to hear of his passing. So my condolences to the family. And for Sandy, you know, Sandy, when I first met Sandy when she was doing her Reconciliation Council work, and that was about caring. That was about giving kids an alternative to punishment, being locked out, giving people a second chance. And so that's how I first knew Sandy. And then when she was sitting out here doing her knitting, but attending council meetings for a long time before she was actually on the council, because she wanted to know what it was about and how it worked. She was a very caring person, and we just were all so sorry what she went through and how she struggled to come back. So for her family too, I know it's a terrible thing to get through, and we really miss her. Thank you.
Alderman John Francois.
Thank you. Speaking with a heavy heart this morning, and Sandy and I served the 4th Ward for a long period of time. She was a good friend. Cindy was very dedicated to the city of Middletown, especially to the constituents in the 4th Ward. And I just want to say, Sandy, if you are listening, you're surely going to be missed. Thank you for your service. Rest in peace. Thank you.
Alderman Burr.
I'd like to echo my fellow council on the passing of our loved ones and wish the families the best. I also like to thank the police department, state police, fire police for a fine job on the Orange Classic Run. They had the roads open back by 9:30. A lot of the businesses were happy because it used to go until 12, 1 o'clock. And then I also I'd like to thank Rich Gerton. I wasn't here last meeting, on his services to the city for many years. Thank you.
Thank you. New business.
You have a resolution sponsored by Alderman Johnson to authorize the treasurer to release 2 bonds totaling $2,430 for the Sutton Hill project, which has been completed and accepted.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Johnson, seconded by Alderman John Francois. Any discussion? Roll.
Graham Cassoon.
Aye.
Tobin.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
John Francois.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Johnson to provide for background checks for all tenants as a precondition to acquiring a rental permit.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Johnson, seconded by Alderman John Francois. Any discussion? Roll.
Graham Cassoon.
Aye.
Tobin.
Can I explain my vote real quick? No?
Let's roll.
Oh, that's discussion? Oh, okay. Well, no then.
No? That's a no.
No.
Okay. Kleiner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
John Francois.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Green?
Aye.
President Rodriguez?
No.
Okay, resolution passes 6-2. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Burr to accept a donation in the amount of $425 from the Middletown Little League.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Burr, seconded by Alderman Kasul. Any discussion? Roll.
Rem Kasoon.
Aye.
Tobin.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
John Francois.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Resolution passes. We have an unsponsored resolution for Alex Smith to be appointed to the acting part-time corporation council until the local law number 2 is effective.
Alderman Kleiner, seconded by Alderman Kasul. Any discussion? Roll.
Ram Kasoon.
Aye.
Tobin.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
John Francois.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Green to concur with the mayor's appointment of Richard Krogan to Assistant Corporation Counsel to fill the term of Alex Smith ending December 31st, 2018.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Green, seconded by Alderman Tobin. Any discussion? Roll.
Ram Kasoon.
Aye.
Tobin.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
John Francois.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Tobin to approve 4 new police officers for SROs in the Middletown School District and fund the officers through revenue and transfers within the 2018 budget.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Tobin, seconded by Alderman John Francois. Any discussion? Roll.
Rem Kasoon.
Aye.
Tobin.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
John Francois.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Green to approve the change order number 13 for roof determination detail for the Rail Trail Commons project. This is the Woolworths project in the amount of $7,830.44.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Green, seconded by Alderman Johnson. Any discussion? Roll.
Ram Kasoon.
Aye.
Tobin.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
John Francois.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
President Rodriguez. Resolution passes. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Burr to authorize the mayor to accept an out-of-school time program grant totaling $23,000 from the National Recreation and Parks Association.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Burr, seconded by Alderman John Francois. Any discussion? Roll.
Ram Kasoon.
Aye.
Tobin.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
John Francois.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Tobin to accept a grant in the amount of $15,750 from the New York State Department of Criminal Justice Services under the Gun-Involved Violence Elimination.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Tobin, seconded by Alderman Green. Any discussion? Roll.
Ram Kasoon.
Aye.
Tobin.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
John Francois.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Kleiner to accept a $250 donation given to the Middletown Police Department from the Kiwanis Club of Middletown towards the juvenile outreach programs.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Kleiner, seconded by Alderman Burr. Any discussion? Roll.
Ram Kasoon.
Aye.
Tobin.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
John Francois.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Resolution sponsored by Alderman John Francois to authorize the transfer from the general fund balance in the amount of $69,264 to cover the cost of crack sealing of certain streets.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman John Francois, seconded by Alderman Kleiner. Any discussion? Roll.
Ram Kasoon.
Aye.
Tobin.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
John Francois.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Burr to authorize the mayor to sign a letter of agreement with Orange Ulster Boces to obtain summer youth workers.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Burr, seconded by Alderman John Francois. Any discussion? Roll.
Ram Kasoon.
Aye.
Tobin.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
John Francois.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
President Rodriguez. Resolution passes. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Green to authorize the mayor to sign any and all necessary documents and certifications regarding the 2018 CDGB Action Program Plan and authorization for the submission of the 2000 Action Plan to the Office of Housing and Urban Development.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Green, seconded by Alderman John Francois. Any discussion? Roll.
Ram Kasoon.
Aye.
Tobin.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
John Francois.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
President Rodriguez. Resolution passes. Resolution sponsored by Alderman John Francois to approve an agreement between the city and Campbell Plaza regarding the operation and maintenance of the pump station at Campbell Plaza.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman John Francois, seconded by Alderman Tobin. Any discussion? Roll.
Ramkusoon?
Aye.
Tobin?
Aye.
Kleiner?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
John Francois?
Aye.
Burr?
Aye.
Green?
Aye.
President Rodriguez?
Aye.
Resolution passes. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Green to authorize the mayor to sign a lease for the parking lot across from Lounsbury Sporting Goods.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Green, seconded by Alderman Kleiner. Any discussion? Roll.
Ramkusoon?
Aye.
Tobin?
Aye.
Kleiner?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
John Francois?
Aye.
Burr?
Aye.
Green?
Aye.
President Rodriguez?
Aye.
Resolution passes. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Johnson to add Deputy Treasurer to the City Code, Chapter 90, Officers and Employees, Article 5, Department Head, Section 90-33, positions covered by provisions.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Johnson, seconded by Alderman Tobin. Any discussion? Roll.
Ramkusoon?
Aye.
Tobin?
Aye.
Kleiner?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
John Francois?
Aye.
Burr? Green?
Aye.
Rodriguez?
Aye.
Resolution passes. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Kleiner to approve a Lance and Tully proposal for $54,000 due to the engineering on the culvert upgrade and repair under the Heritage Trail.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Kleiner, seconded by Alderman John Francois. Any discussion? Roll.
Ramkusoon?
Aye.
Tobin?
Aye.
Kleiner?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
John Francois?
Aye.
Burr?
Aye.
Green?
Aye.
President Rodriguez?
Aye.
Resolution passes. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Green to concur with the mayor's appointment of Andrew Brito to the City of Middletown Planning Board to replace the term of Stephen Cisco, term ending December 31st, 2018.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Green, seconded by Alderman Tobin. Any discussion? Roll.
Ramkusoon?
Aye.
Tobin?
Aye.
Kleiner?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
John Francois?
Aye.
Burr?
Aye.
Green?
Aye.
President Rodriguez?
Aye.
Resolution passes. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Green to authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Capola Associates for consulting services for the Architectural Review Board.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Green, seconded by Alderman John Francois. Any discussion? Roll.
Ramkusoon?
Aye.
Tobin?
Aye.
Kleiner?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
John Francois?
Aye.
Burr?
Aye.
Green?
Aye.
President Rodriguez? Resolution passes. That is all for new business.
Local laws.
Tonight, we have a vote on local law number 1 of 2018. This is sponsored by Alderman Johnson to amend the Sustainable Energy Loan Program in the City of Middletown.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Johnson, seconded by Alderman Green. Any discussion on the local law? Roll.
Ramkusoon?
Aye.
Tobin?
Aye.
Kleiner?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
John Francois?
Aye.
Burr?
Aye.
Green?
Aye.
President Rodriguez?
Aye.
Resolution passes. Tonight, we have the introduction of a second local law, number 2 of 2018, sponsored by Alderman Johnson, to restructure the Office of Corporation Counsel of the City of Middletown.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Johnson.
That is all for local laws.
Audit.
Mr. President, I move the accounts be audited, the claims be adjusted, and the city treasurer be authorized to issue warrants for their payment.
Motion by Alderman Johnson, seconded by Alderman Green. Roll.
Ramkusoon?
Aye.
Tobin?
Aye.
Kleiner?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
John Francois?
Aye.
Burr?
Aye.
Green?
Aye.
President Rodriguez?
Aye.
Resolution passes.
For adjournment.
Moved.